Should be good. Should be able to hear me. Um, I'm not super late. Not super late this time doing a video, but getting back into T-bait. Getting back into T-bait like always. I see that we got a part 3 of Amongst the Fallen, so we're gonna continue on where we left off, which is cool. See kind of where we go from now. But yeah, man, I'm back. I'm back. I'm not a week late this time, and I'm not like 2 weeks late this time. I'm just like a couple days, but I just got done driving for the night, and so before I go to sleep, figure I'll get this video up because I'm not gonna have any time tomorrow until probably around like this time again the next day. So yeah, I figure I'll just get the reaction done today. You know, I'm kind of getting a little bit back excited about the story, so it's kind of got me more interested. Even though I've been reading other stuff, but I'll talk about that probably towards the end. But let's just get back into it, man. I wonder if this chapter is good. I enjoyed the last few chapters that well, I guess the Amongst the Fallen. I enjoyed the last couple chapters for this part with what's going on with Lilia and how, you know, brave she is, you know, just being brave and you know, understanding the dragons don't really care about them, and she getting confirmation from the one dragon who was just like, you know, it doesn't matter, you know, a couple hundred lessers are not worth the world or whatever the fuck she was talking about. So let's see where we go from here. Chapter 454, Amongst the Fallen 3, 39 minutes ago. So I'm guessing this might be from a different perspective, like 39 minutes ago from when this whole like battle had happened on this mountain. So, the Asura strode past me. Okay, no, it's not a different perspective. It's still Lilia, I think. The Asura strode past me, and I couldn't help but take a step back as my stomach churned and my strength wilted from her aura. Despite my best efforts, I've been trying to avoid turning my thoughts inward to examine my many wounds, but the crushing force of the Asura's presence made my own pains inescapable. Okay, let me just crack this open really quick, so that way I've got something to drink. Okay, so her wounds are inescapable. Every inch of my body was battered and bruised. My ears rang and there was a consistent angry throbbing coming from the back of my head. I couldn't even bring myself to look at my hand. Much of the flesh of, yeah, she got burned from the, not burned, she got poisoned from that, the green toxic shit. Much of the flesh of which was slawed off to reveal the discolored meat beneath. Oof. Ugh. Ahead of me, the dragon looked up, but her gaze was aimed away from the stalled battle above the mountain. To the south, a small cluster of dark shapes was approaching rapidly over the mountain peaks. Is it more wraiths? So we know that there was 9. We know that 3 was killed. So we're about I look like super duper dark. Can I like increase my brightness or anything? I don't think I can. I look dark as shit. But anyway, what was I gonna say? So yeah, so we knew that there were 9 Asuras, or not Asuras, wraiths, and then so is there gonna be more on top of that? We know 3 died, so now we're at 6. So hopefully there's not more coming. To the south, a small cluster of dark shapes was approaching rapidly over the mountain peaks. They weren't bothering to hide their mana signatures, and there was no mistaking them for anything other than what they were. Oh my god, is more of them coming? Every nerve in my body began to unravel at the sight, and I felt truly hopeless for the first time since the dragons arrived. Was it all for nothing? Or was it all really for nothing? I asked, the words a whisper on my lips. The weight of the dragon's mana swelled, the air thick with it, her pressure palpable on my skin. Pain wrecked me. I think, yeah, racked. Is it wrecked? Or no, it's racked. Pain racked me as I fell to my knees and stared up at the inhuman entity. Sure, that made her mere presence. What? Sure, that made. Oh, I'm putting words into my. Okay. Sure, that her mere presence. I thought that was I thought that was made instead of mere. Her mere presence would destroy me utterly. The Asura sighed. Tears streamed from my eyes, and I involuntarily turned away, unable to bear the sight of the Asura's raw power, only to see a streak like a black star bearing down on us. Unable to even utter a cry of alarm, I felt my body go rigid. Then the dragon's aura manifested as a silver shield, capturing me within it. Then the dragon's aura manifested as a silver shield, capturing me within it by nature of my proximity. A seething morass of black metal spikes churned around us, chewing at the barrier like 1,000 grinding teeth. Okay, so she's actually protecting her now for the first time ever. But then again, is she really? Or is she just protecting herself and she's just being protected as like a byproduct of that because of how close she is? I guess we'll see. Maybe she makes some sort of reaction or does something to try to protect her. Maybe she has like a little bit more respect for her because she saw that she didn't just run away or whatever and that she's still alive. Some weird ass shit like that. A seething morass of black metal spikes churned around us, chewing at the barrier like 1,000 grinding teeth. With a grunt, the Asura shoved outward with her shield. Okay, that's what I said. Beams of silver light pierced the cold metal, and the spikes all burst at once, the dust of their remains drifting out over the valley below. I had a second of pure terror to watch as the ground cracked open beneath me before I slid backwards, being swallowed by an enormous earthen maw. Broken stone, rock, half a carriage, and several tons of dirt collapsed all around me. Reaching out, I clawed the air and watched as the one-armed Asura woman floated into the air and sped towards Prahata. Then everything but the fallen mountain was gone, and darkness closed in above me. So she's okay. So fuck trying to save her or protect her. The shit, like the whole mountain opened up, and she's falling into a big ass, I guess, like crater or hole, and the Asura lady just floating. And she's about to go get ready for battle. Meanwhile, Lily is just falling to her death, and she didn't even glance at her, man. God, she really meant it when she said, I don't give a fuck about y'all, yo. Like, she could be right next to her. Like, all she had to do was, like, one quick little spell to make a earthen, like, floating something to give her something to stand on to stop her from falling. She didn't give two shits, man. That's so messed up. Then everything but the fallen mountain was gone, and darkness closed in above me. Desperately, I struggled to conjure a protective barrier of water around myself. The mana sputtered and stalled as my broken concentration flailed. Not failed, but flailed. Then swelled into existence, embracing me in a cold but buffering sphere. I bounced around as gravel, stone, and soil battered me from every direction, only intermittent flashes of light visible through the cascading rubble. Then, with a suddenness that made my head spin, I came to a jerking halt. The noise of the mountain's collapse continued everywhere at once. The rumbling inside my head, my chest, my guts. I couldn't see, couldn't breathe. My barrier was collapsing, being crushed inward toward me by the weight of the mountain. Crushed inward toward... So what, did she get like squeezed between two pieces of earth or something? I don't understand how is the mountain crushing her if she just fell in. My barrier was collapsing, being crushed inward toward me by the weight of the mountain. I was trapped by my own spell. Can't you just deactivate the spell? Paralyzed, my concentration fractured. The spell burst. I wrapped my arms around my head, and the dirt and rocks settled on top of me. Oh, okay, I see what's going on. So she's being buried under the mountain, by the dirt, the gravel, the rocks, the stone, all that stuff. And the only thing that's protecting her is her little shield that she conjured. But what about air, though? Because she'll run out of air at some point, too. But she lost concentration, her spell burst, and then so all the gravel, the rock, it all fell in on her. So that's what she was talking about. That was the pressure and shit. Okay, I got it. So what? Did she let go of the spell maybe to try to climb out? The spell burst. I wrapped my arms around my head and dirt and rocks settled on top of me. Something heavy crushed down on my leg. Oh shit, she's getting fucked. I screamed, but the soil swallowed the noise. My heart was beating fast. So fast, I felt like it would run up my throat. This was it. Everything I had done. Learning magic, rebelling against the Elacrians, surviving the war had brought me here. To my literal grave. Buried alive. Better to have died alongside Gerard, I think. Or I thought wildly, bitterly. At least it would have been quick. Then, though, I remembered the man climbing down the mountain with his family. I remember the couple with the baby and the boy. Yeah, you saved some people, you know? I mean, even if you end up dying, you know, which is kind of fucked, but even if you end up dying, at least you died saving people. That's more than what the fucking Asuras can say. They don't want to save anybody. So, I mean, I guess you can kind of feel good about that, right? They had struggled to survive, not giving up during the war or after, even continuing to fight for their lives as deities rained death and destruction down all around them. Regular folks, farmers, herdsmen, crafters, went through all of that and chose to keep trying to live. Okay, so maybe this is going to give her inspiration to like keep fighting to live. That's what I'm thinking. God, my neck kind of hurt and shit. I feel so goddamn old. I wiggled my arms, careful to protect my head, and made just a little bit of room for myself. Then my shoulders, hips, and made just a little more. The protective spell had prevented the soil and small stones from compacting around me, but something both hard and heavy was pressing down on my leg. I closed my eyes. Even though it made no difference to what I could see, taking a deep breath of the thin, musty air, I listened and searched with every sense available to me. My breath caught. Below, not far, I could sense mana, a large collection of atmospheric water attribute mana. Shaking with nerves, I very carefully, began using what little mana I still had to spray jets of high-pressure water into the ground, carving out a little space. So, is she gonna maybe like try to make like a nest or like a kind of like a cavern type of space for her to like stay in? But she's gonna run out of air eventually, so maybe she's just trying to loosen up the gravel to give it another place to go to so she can climb out or something. I'm not sure. But what's up, Lebo? I closed my eyes, breath caught. Okay. Shaking with nerves, I very carefully began using what little mana I still had to spray jets of high-pressure water into the ground, carving out a little space. The ground that was pressing in all around me gave way little by little. Afraid to be careless and yet knowing there was no time to collect myself, I used small bursts of water to carve down toward the atmospheric mana I could sense, trying to make enough room to crawl forward in my little cave. Okay, so she is making a cave. But the boulder on my leg was holding it fast. I couldn't move an inch. So maybe she's going to try to use this like collection of mana or water attribute mana to maybe have a spell strong enough to get rid of whatever it is that's crushing her leg. That's kind of what I'm thinking at this point. I could make this like a little bit brighter, but I don't want to fucking blind myself while I'm reading this. Let me see. Okay, got a little bit brighter. Closing my eyes, I stopped moving and casting for a moment, focusing on my breath. My head was foggy, my body had dissolved into one connected agony, and my core was nearly empty. Pushing up onto my elbows, I gathered my strength and cast a jet of water at the stone, trying to shift it. Some chunks of rock flaked away, but the boulder didn't move. I gathered my strength and then struck it again and again, each jet in the same spot, until, with a muffled crack, the boulder split. The half slid just a little, and suppressing a scream of sheer agony, I yanked myself free. Okay, so she got herself free, but her legs fucked up, so she's not going to be able to move unless she can fly. Which we know she can't, so. But she got herself free, so that's cool. Dirt rained down on me. Then small pebbles, as the ground all around me shifted as well, gathering what felt like the last of my strength. I blasted downward with a powerful jet, and the floor of my little hole gave way. I plunged into... Wait, the floor of my little hole gave way. Okay, yeah, so she carved like a little cave, and so the floor gave way. So maybe she's now at the bottom of the rock? Or the mountain? Wait, where was I? I plunged into open air. There was a brief sensation of light against my eyes. Then I hit solid rock from a jarring impact that knocked the breath from my lungs and all sense from my skull. My senses flitted in and out as I struggled against the impulse to go to sleep. Then something jolted me back to my awareness. I stared up at the ceiling, which had partially crumbled where I blasted my way through. What had that been? Something experienced on the outer edges of my failing senses. Huh? Turning my neck was pure torture, but I had to find whatever had jarred my senses back to life. Next to me, only a couple feet away, a spike of black metal protruded from the floor and up into the ceiling, with a network of filaments. Yeah, I think it might be filaments, extending from it to keep the ceiling lodged in place. So somebody's using the black metal spikes to keep the ceiling in place so it don't crash down on her, maybe? As I looked further, I saw another, and then a third black spike. Then it happened again, and I realized what it was, a voice. Okay, I don't know what is happening right now. I really don't. I don't know what's going on, but Nico? Like, there's no way, though. Despite the bone-deep pain, I turned in the other direction, rolling onto my side and propping myself up on one elbow. In a dim, sourceless light, I could just make out the shape of a man curled into a fetal position next to the glossy black of an underground body of water. Red eyes stared back at me. So this is a wraith. This is not fucking Nico, because Nico don't have red eyes. I think. No, I don't think so. I sucked in a breath, and my ribs gave a stab of pain. Squinting, I realized he had long corkscrew horns that poked up from his head, and there was a sharpness and definition to his features that made him look inhuman. The Sovereign. Oh, the Sovereign. This is Aladarai or whatever the fuck his name is. Okay, so is he conscious now? I muttered weakly. You know me. Good. That's good. Okay, so he's definitely conscious. I mean, she said she heard a voice, so that makes sense. I wasn't expecting that. So they hid him below the mountain? You know me. Good. That's good. He tried to give me what he must have thought was a disarming smile, but it only made him look even more predatory. Except something was wrong. He had no mana signature. Looking more closely, I realized that he was tightly bound with heavy chains and cuffs. You're a Dicathian lesser, yes? But a mage, at least. A dark tongue flicked across his pale lips. I'm in need of your assistance, immediately, as you can see. Release me at once, and I'll... What? I yelped, unable to help myself. Irritation flashed across the man's face. Do not be stupid. I am no longer an enemy of your nation. If the noise out there is any indication, your dragon allies are currently fighting against the soldiers who abducted me. Release me, and I'll turn myself into whichever lizard is in charge. And you'll be a hero. I blinked, unable... How is she supposed to release him, though? I blinked, unable to process what was happening through the pain and exhaustion pressing on me like the falling mountain above. Excellent, he huffed. After all this, a breathing magic user falls into my lap, so to speak, and she is an imbecile or confused. He narrowed his eyes at me. Lesser, you do speak this language, yes? I swallowed and eased myself into a sitting position. My wounded hand jumped to my ribs, which I thought must be broken. Yes, of course, I said through gritted teeth, but I don't think I can help you. You're a coward, a new voice said, a voice that had been ringing across the mountainside all throughout the battle. I froze, unable to turn around, but then I didn't need to. Sovereign Aldari Vritra of the Dominion of Truasia. Perhetta's feet crunched across. How the fuck did she get there? Wasn't she just fighting the one chick? The dragon chick. Like she was about to go, like, how the hell did she get down there? She was just fighting her. What's up, X Drake? What's I gonna say? A coward, yeah. Sovereign, yeah. Sworn in service to the High Sovereign, Agrona Vitra, father of our nation and our people, betrayer, traitor, failure. Perhaps materialized out of the darkness. Have I missed any of your titles, Sovereign? He seemed to deflate as he released a deep sigh. Perhaps kneel beside me, took my chin in her hand, and pulled me across to face her, examining me closely. If it isn't the girl I promised to let live, have you been a good little girl? I suddenly felt like I was back in the lightless hole, trapped and waiting to die, blind and suffocating. A cold chill trembled through my body, offset only by the wet warmth spreading through my stained and ruined pants. Perhaps regarded me with disdain. You have survived, which I suppose should be worth something, and yet her brows pinched together, and she pursed her lips thoughtfully, then stood and moved to Aldari. There was a spark of mana, and she set a device down on the ground next to him. Sorry for the delay, Sovereign. We were waiting on this, which Kaladin's battle group was kind enough to bring for us. With 5 more wraiths on our side, the battle above should be about over, don't you imagine? She sucked in a deep breath and released it with almost giddy energy. If there has been one good thing about your fruitless attempt to defect, it was that my purpose was fulfilled this day. Dragon blood spilled. One elongated canine bit down on her lower lip as she suddenly closed her eyes and turned her face toward the ceiling, visibly tensing. Then her smile faded, her eyes snapped open, and Peretta spun around, staring up through... Wait, okay, alright, something's going on, man. Something's going on. Because she's like all like smiling, said, oh yeah, you know, this is a good day. You know, I spilled some dragon blood. Okay. There's some device that the other wraiths gave to her, and she's not worried about the dragons because there's more wraiths coming, I guess. If there has been one good thing about your fruitless attempt to defect, it was that my purpose was fulfilled this day. Dragon blood spilled. One elongated canine bit down on her lower lip as she suddenly closed her eyes and turned her face toward the ceiling. So she's sensing something, I guess. Visibly tensing. Then her smile faded. Her eyes snapped open, and Peretta spun around, staring up through the mountain as if she could see the sky above. Even in the colorless light, I could see her face turning pale. It took a moment longer before I sensed the approaching intent. A seething, furious anger seemed to harden the air. 3 more mana signatures, even more powerful than the Wait. What did she just say? 3 more mana signatures, even more powerful than the dragons already there? So, is this Arthur and fucking Sharon? like, here's what I'm thinking. We know that Lily is not that strong, but she can sense their auras and their mana signatures and shit. So she can tell how strong someone is too, based off of their mana. So she can tell that this person or these three people are more stronger or are stronger than the dragons that's already there. Like, how is she able to tell that? Like, wouldn't it be like, I don't know, like some Bleach shit where like they're so strong you can't even sense their mana anymore? Or they have such perfect control over their mana you can't sense it or something? Like, but then again, I guess they've always been able to sense how much more powerful one mana signature is from another, right? So, but I wonder if this is Arthur in the group. I mean, she is paling, so it's got to be something that she didn't expect. So 3 more mana signatures, even more powerful than the dragons already there. And among them, something else. Something cold and rageful and dangerous. Perhaps spun, diving for the device. Oh, she's like, I gotta hurry the fuck up and do this shit. Okay. Aldari squirmed in his chains, lashing out with a knee and knocking the anvil-shaped artifact sideways. Okay, so he's trying to buy time because he can sense that shit too. So fucking, she gotta try to help buy some time. That's what she gotta do at this point. That's what Lily has to do at this point. So he hit the artifact, knocking it sideways. It slid in the dirt, rocking toward the water, and Perhetta scrambled to get a hold of it. Mana building up as she tried to activate it. Lesser, the Tempest Warp, Aldari urged. Disable it. Perhetta, who had for a moment seemed to forget my existence, flicked out her hand in irritation. A dark streak sped toward me, so fast I didn't even have time to close my eyes. There was a bright purple flash in front of me. Oh, this is Arthur, bruh! There's a purple flash? Oh, we already know who this is. Then someone was standing between us. A figure wreathed in violet arcs of lightning. In the figure's hand, the little sparks of the purple current jumping around it was the spike that had been aimed for my throat. Violet flames licked between his fingers, and the black spike burned away to nothing. Whoo! Okay, let's see what happens now. Is there going to be a fight, or is her bitch ass going to get away? A black spike burned away to nothing. The burning silhouette of a wolf burst from him. Also, and he's got ridges too. I didn't know he had Regis. Wasn't Regis with Ellie? I think, right? Yeah. I don't remember. Anyway, the burning silhouette of a wolf burst from him, launching itself at Perhetta, while his head turned slightly, mid-length blonde hair waving like a curtain, and a single golden eye meeting mine as his profile was revealed. Go, Arthur said, his voice, like his expression, dark and solemn. But beneath that, frosted over with such a bitter, cold fury that it sent a shiver down my spine. Even as Perhetta struggled against the creature in the background, spells starting to flash and fly all across the cavern, I reached out and clutched his arm. The dragons, they didn't care. They let us. He know, bruh. He know. That's why he's so pissed off right now. He's so pissed because he know they ain't do shit to try to help. If anything, they kill people too. So yeah, the dragons, they didn't care. They let us. That boiling, wrathful intent I had felt flared, and Arthur's eyes blazed. I know. Before I could say or do anything else, Arthur blinked away, his arm melting from my grasp, as he reappeared on the other side of Perhetta, cutting her off from the sovereign and the artifact. She better get away, you know, because she could try to use her as a hostage or some bullshit, although Arthur's pretty fast, so maybe she wouldn't be able to get there. But yeah. He finally showed up. Let's see what he gonna do though. Like, is she gonna have her head cut off like right within this moment, or is she gonna try to get away? Is he gonna come through and just annihilate all the rest of the wraiths or some shit? I don't know. He got fucking destruction because he used that to destroy the spike. So I don't know. He pissed, man. So he went away. Okay, a bright beam of amethyst light swept across the dark cave, and the wraith threw herself back, dragging the lupine mana beast with her. A spray of black metal spikes filled the cave, launching outward with the wraith. My senses weren't quick enough to follow them all. She needs to get the fuck out of there. But at the same time, several swords molded from violet energy appeared in the air, slashing in several directions at once, each one deflecting or destroying a spike. One seared the ground below me, barely missing my leg after one of the swords parried it aside. Oh, so he broke one of the spikes and it went towards her legs, almost hitting her. She needs to get the fuck out of the way. Shaking loose of my paralysis, finally, I tried to stand, only to realize that my crushed leg wouldn't hold my weight. Yeah, her leg's fucked up. I told you she needed to be able to fly. She can't move. The pain of it was a distant echo that only manifested as I began to move, but it contained no strength. Instead, I rolled over and crawled desperately toward the underground body of water. Okay, so she's going towards the water, trying to get some mana or some shit. More particles cracked the stone all around me, and with each agonizing jerk forward, I expected one to pierce my flesh and pin me to the ground. It was almost, maybe plot, that you're still alive. It was almost surprise when my body slid down the wet slope and entered the cold water with a small splash. Shoving out with mana, I projected myself along the narrow river, pushing the current to carry me even faster. Oh, so she's going down like a river. Okay, so this is how she's getting away. She's basically just floating away in the water. A second later, I slipped into a crack where the water drained out and I was quickly pulled away from the battle. The underground stream wasn't large, and I had to navigate entirely by my sense of mana and the current. There was no way to know if there was an outlet ahead, or I would find myself trapped in a continually narrowing gap. But I knew I couldn't stay in the cave. When the stream became too narrow, I shoved out with as much water attribute mana as I could still manage, breaking away outcroppings of stone that created impassable pinch points. I swam for a minute or more, until my head began to feel light and my lungs screamed for air, before I reached the end of the crevice. Freshly churned dirt and stone blocked the way forward. In a sudden panic, I thought we was gonna go to Arthur, man, and like switch to his perspective and like, get more of the fight, but we're just getting her retreat. I swam for a minute or more, before I reached the end of the crevice. Freshly churned dirt and stone blocked the way forward. In a sudden panic, I clawed at the dirt with my good hand, but it was no use. Digging through might take hours, but I had mere seconds. Conjuring bullets and beams of water, I blasted the obstruction. Each spell was weaker than the last. Again and again I struck it until the water turned to mud and my core cried out with each spell. Realizing I wouldn't make it, I tried to turn and swim back upstream, but the crack was too tight. I couldn't reverse direction, and I didn't have the strength to send so much water cursing against the gravity to pull me back. Okay, so this is like a desperate situation right now. My need to breathe was overpowering my ability to hold my breath. When it did, I would choke down the lungs full of muddy water and drown. I felt my mind sliding toward unconsciousness, and I was thankful at least I wouldn't be awake for it. Even as I accepted my fate, a sharp force tugged against my body and I slammed against the rock wall. I was moving. The crack was so tight, I scraped constantly against the walls, but the current was once again flowing, pulling me forward at increasing speed. A few desperate seconds passed and the walls widened before vanishing. I opened my eyes. Murky water surrounded me, but I could see light, and I swam toward it. My movement is wild. I mean, that's some lucky shit, I guess. The current just magically just got stronger and opened up the cracks and shit. My movement's wild. No wherewithal left to cast a spell to speed my ascent. It seemed so far, and I felt certain that I would still drown, but I couldn't possibly make it such a distance. My head burst from the water and into open air, and I took the most painful breath of my life. Somewhere very close, a child screamed, coughing wildly. I flailed to keep my head above water. On the shore, several figures... Oh, is she going to see the people who she saved? Several figures... Where was I? Several figures rushed about in a hurried movement. There was a splash and strong hands took hold of me, pulling me toward solid ground. I collapsed into soft soil. Healers of the muck molding around my face. All I could do was gasp for breath. There were voices, several, all around me, but I couldn't process their words. A shadow passed over me, and I instinctively focused on its source. Everything was blurry. And it was loud, so loud. The mountain, the sovereign, Arthur. I sat bolt upright, searching my surroundings. I was on the edge of a murky, slow-moving river. Tons of stone and dirt have collapsed into it from the mountain above, nearly stopping the flow. I was in the valley at the base of the mountain. Above it, the valley at the base of the mountain, right. Above, it was still collapsing in on itself. The cacophonous grinding of stone on stone loud enough to make me ill. But it was above that, far above, where my eye was drawn. A truly enormous dragon dominated the sky. Oh, so Chiron's even bigger than the rest of the dragons. I didn't think about that. I didn't think he'd be bigger than all the rest of them too. We knew he would be more powerful, but like, I didn't think he'd be large. The battle-scarred monstrosity had bone-white scales and vibrantly purple eyes that I could see even from the ground. His wings, though tattered and worn, stretched so wide that their beating cleared the dust from the sky. A smaller dragon, black as night and almost lithe in comparison to the big white one, flew at his flank, staying in formation. Just behind her was a man. No, an Asura, I thought, keeping pace through the air, flying like he had wings. Yeah, because the smaller black dragon is a woman, so that's why she said, just behind her. Let's see where I'm at. The three were wreaking havoc among the wraiths while defending two of the original 3 dragons that had arrived in search of the sovereign. I quickly counted 7 wraiths, though it was difficult. How is it 7? I thought 3 of them got killed. Though it was difficult to keep track of them as they flitted about faster than my eye could follow. Despite its size, the scarred white dragon moved with incredible speed and precision, dodging the wraith's spells or batting them away with his wings as he shot dense silver beams of energy from his mouth. The humanoid Asura didn't attack, but seemed entirely focused on protecting the black dragon. The humanoid Asura didn't attack, but seemed entirely focused on protecting the black dragon. Oh, so maybe one of them just transformed into their like human type form. I couldn't be certain what the black dragon was doing, only that her mana signature seemed to fluctuate strangely. I had only seconds to take everything in before the figure crouching next to me pulled my attention back to the ground. A painful gasp burst from me. Tanner! But what? The blade wing rider who had worked for Vanity Glory throughout the war was bloated and discolored all down his left side. His skin was molted smoky gray and green, and his open sores wept thick yellow fluid. Oh shit, he got fucked up. Before the race had first arrived, Tanner and his blade wing had been struck by a spell and knocked from the sky, and I had assumed he was dead. Looking at him now, I was even more surprised to find him alive. Nice to see you too, Lady Helstia, he said with a somber smile, wrapped simultaneously in grief and relief. How'd you get, never mind. We need to move. As he said we, I focused on the other people standing around. There were at least 20 people hunkered on the river's edge, all staring at me. I immediately saw Rose Ellen, the boisterous beast tamer who had teased Gerard at every opportunity, her stoic bond, a large bird-like manabeast. The brawny man who'd ignored my pleas to help the elders was there, as was his family, and I nearly burst into tears as I saw the couple with the baby that I had helped escape the mountain. I felt a sudden spark of hope and pride when I saw that the boy that I rescued remained with them. So that's cool. That's cool. That's cool that she's getting some relief and some hope from all her efforts to save the people, and it wasn't just for nothing. So that's great. That's great. All right. So they still got to get away because they're still fighting. It's a few miles to the north and west before we reach the road again, Tanner explained, offering me his hand to help me up. We need to get farther away from the mountain. You can see how far some of these rock slides are reaching. The gears of my mind suddenly began turning again, and I realized that below all this stone and dirt, not so far from where we stood, I could feel the burst of mana and Arthur battled. I could feel the burst of mana as Arthur battled Prahada. I grabbed Tanner and he winced. Not north, west, deeper into the marshes, as far from the battle as possible. Tanner looked uncertainly past me at the river. I don't know if we can. The ground shook. More so than it. Ain't that shit crazy though? Like, I mean, basically we're getting, okay. So we're getting the perspective of some people. It's basically like a preview of what would happen if an all-out war between Asura-like beings had a fight. So we're basically getting the perspective of these people who are trapped in the middle of a fight that they can't do shit about. They can't even hope to contribute to. And all they got to do is sit there and just look at all the destruction that's being caused and figure out where they can go to try to get away and survive. And so it's like a preview of what everybody will be going through who can't compete with an Asura. Like, not even if the White Court Lances was here, they wouldn't be able to do shit either. It'd be like, okay, we'll just be in charge of the escape, because they wouldn't be able to fight because they wouldn't be strong enough. You know, like before they had their cores unlocked, or, you know, whatever you want to call it. So it's just like, they wouldn't be able to do shit either because they can barely even take on a retainer. So it's crazy. It's crazy just thinking about like how just so weak they are. Anyway. So she said that we got to get away as far as possible. The ground shook more so than it already was, and a towering obsidian lance, at least 40 feet high, thrust out of the base of the mountain less than 100 feet away. It arced through the air above us before crashing down unseen in the valley beyond. Just behind the spike, a shadowy figure sped out of the resulting hole at impossible speed. Prahada, who clutched her side, her face twisted in a grimace of pain and fear, didn't make for the battle above, but veered south and flew at all possible speed. The air in front of her crackled with amethyst lightning, and Arthur appeared as if from nowhere. A cone of energy roared from his hand, and the wraith dipped below or beneath it, unleashing a barrage of deadly spikes back at him as she flew past. Arthur vanished. Man, that's what I'm saying. Like, we know that destruction is the most powerful ability that Arthur has, but he can't control it. Not without Regis. But Godstep, man, Godstep is his single most valuable ability. Like, that's more valuable than destruction, because not only can it be used offensively to get super close to the enemy, but it can also be used defensively to be able to dodge attacks, and then now he can like stab his sword into the fucking the pathways and have it come out a different direction. Man, Godstep is busted as fuck. Like, that shit is crazy. That shit is so crazy. But he needs it. He needs even more busted abilities if he's to stand a chance against all these crazy ass enemies. So anyway, but Arthur vanished, once again appearing in front of her, this time conjuring and slashing with a blade of pure energy. Prahada screamed in frustration and rage as an armor of hundreds of small black spikes appeared around her, and she caught Arthur's wrist while blocking his blade with her upper arm. The two remained suspended for an instant before Arthur's blade reversed. The sword and shrinking. Oh hell yeah! So he can shrink the blades and increase the size of the blades. Oh shit. The sword end shrinking as a blade grew from the other end of the handle. The blade grew from the other end of the handle and drove into Prahada's sternum, bruh. Holy shit. So he made a blade appear from the handle of the other blade? Oh, man, that's crazy. It's the versatility, man. Ever since he was able to conjure a sword and have it go in the distance when they did their whole little training little arc in the Relic Tombs. Ever since he did that and he was able to use what was it? Burst, not burst step, but he did it with his fist. I forget what the fuck he called it. But yeah, he can do a lot of shit, man. But anyway, so she got stabbed in the sternum. Sparks flying where violet energy impacted the black metal. Black flames erupted around her, throwing Arthur back and sending metal spikes raining in every direction. Even as they fell, though, they were swarming together, combining and building on each other to form shapes. I think that what she's going to end up doing is, Prahada might end up seeing, like, either seeing, Lily and the rest of them, or some other, humans, and trying to, like, attack them to force Arthur to be able to, to protect them, so that way she can easy. Okay, let me re-explain this. She's going to use her abilities to attack the other humans, so that way Arthur is forced to protect them, so that way she can escape. That's what I'm trying to say. Anyway, that was the reason why she got them in the first place. So throwing Arthur back in, sending metal spikes everywhere, or raining in every direction. Even as they fell, they were swarming together, combining and building on each other to form shapes. Arthur vanished again, reappearing in the air where Prahada had been. But the Wraith was no longer there. Instead, Arthur was surrounded by several dozen armed forms, each one identically molded out of hundreds of tiny black spikes. Even as Arthur's gaze swept across them, each figure darted away, flying in a different direction. Oh, so she's using them as like a decoy, I guess? Arthur flashed to one retreating figure, conjured a blade, and sliced it in half. The spikes slashed apart, falling to the ground below like deadly hail. There was no flesh beneath them. As the rest of the armor, but couldn't he use Realm Heart to try to figure out where she's at? But they're really good at like hiding themselves too, so maybe he can't. The rest of the armed figures spread out across the sky. A couple dipped lower, flying directly toward our weary group. Beside me, Tanner shouted. Someone else screamed, and everyone began to run. Splashing into the water or sprinting along its shore, I could only watch until Tanner's arm wrapped around my shoulders and he pulled me to my feet, supporting me, but it was already too late. Tanner spun me away from the nightmarish amalgamation of black spikes, putting himself between me and them. Time seemed to slow. I felt the trembling of his tense body, saw how the spikes seemed to flow over each other like liquid, pulsing with such monstrous manner. But my eyes were drawn to Arthur in the distance. He was falling through the air as if sinking down through water, his eyes closed, his expression focused, thoughtful, almost peaceful. Is he trying to sense the paths? His eyes opened with a golden flash, and his blade blurred. Even fucking more crazy! I thought he was trying to sense where to go, so that way he can appear to stop, the fucking, the spike creature shit. I thought he was trying to sense where exactly to go to get there in time, but I think this motherfucker is trying to sense where to go so he can slash his sword in the fucking pathways to fucking kill her or to cut the thing in half. Man. His eyes opened with a golden flash and his blade blurred in a sweeping cut. A bright beam of violet energy stabbed out of the air, slashing sideways, bisecting the armored figures. Black spikes burst apart, spraying the ground in front of us and churning the soft soil to mulch. Similar violet flashes appeared across the battlefield, and a dozen other retreating forms came apart. So he's using that shit, and not only he's using it like a fucking whole. That's crazy. So he's like hitting all of them at the same time? Similar violet flashes appeared all across the battlefield, and a dozen other retreating forms came apart. The blade reversed direction, cutting back across the air in front of Arthur. And I saw this time, as the blade itself seemed to vanish, and a few more conjured suits of armor collapsed as they were simultaneously struck all at the fucking same time. That's crazy, man. He's just coming up with all new ways of killing people. It's crazy. Flying, but that's why I said that shit was so powerful. The fact that he was able to, because Arthur's been lacking a long range attack, and now he has one. He has a fucking long range attack. But some, too many, were still escaping, flying over the mountain and across the lowland marshes. And none of the forms Arthur had struck down had contained the living, breathing body of Parada. Arthur's expression tightened with frustration just before he vanished from sight, crashing to the ground some distance away in the valley. And that's another thing about Arthur too, is that because he doesn't have any like long range, like destructive attacks, and he attacks with his sword, he can be more precise, so that way there isn't a whole lot of like collateral damage. Whereas if he sent destruction or he has some crazy AoE attack, then he'll have to worry about other people being caught up in the attack and him potentially causing them harm. But with his sword, he can be completely, focused and accurate with his attacks. So anyway, so he tightened his expression. All right, taking a steady breath, I tentatively put weight on my crushed leg, reinforcing it with mana, then pulled away from Tanner. Come on, let's get everyone out of here. And then we go to Sylvie. Okay, Sylvie Lewin, not Sylvie Indrath. All right, despite everything, I felt a spike of relief as Arthur's weight pressed down on my back. Wait, Sylvie's there? Is that the Black Dragon? I don't know. Is that the third person that went with him? No. There's no way. There's no way, because she said that there were 3 figures even stronger than the dragons that were already fighting. But there's no way that Sylvie could be one of them, because she's not stronger than the regular dragons. She's still weak. She couldn't even fucking beat a scythe. So, there's no way. It couldn't be her. So, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Despite everything, I felt a spike of relief as Arthur's weight pressed down on my back, and the pulse of ether released by his use of God Step rippling against my scales. I kept tight against Sharon's flank. So she is there. That's the dragon that's flanking him. I thought that was the I thought that was the other black dragon that was already there. But there's no way she's stronger than the rest of the dragons. There's no way she's stronger than the one chick who had her arm but that was fighting with Parada and shit, that didn't protect anybody. There's no way she's stronger than her, because she's fucking weak. She couldn't even beat, who was she fighting? Melsry? She couldn't even beat Melsry. Anyway, so despite everything, I already read that part. I kept tight against Sharon's flank, not allowing the race to separate us. Winsome was still sticking to me like, Winsome's there too? Man, oh, so he must be the third one. Okay. So now it makes sense. So Winsome's the third person that's stronger than the rest of the dragons. That makes more sense. Okay. So it was Winsome, Arthur, and Sharon. That's who it was. Okay. Winsome's there too. Was still sticking to me like my very own shadow. All his energy spent protecting me from the race's flailing attacks. My link with Arthur told me he was scowling despite my not being able to see his face. Go after her. Wait, who said go after her? Which one? I asked. Oh, this must be Arthur. Still sensing the remaining blood iron formations escaping in different directions. Forced to dip down to the right, I avoided a jet of greenish black mana and breathed out a bolt of pure mana back at the caster. Arthur didn't answer. He didn't have to. There was no way to know, and no reason to chase an empty suit of armor halfway across the chasm when there were several wraiths right in front of us, even if that meant this one escaped. But I didn't offer my bond any words of advice or comfort. It was neither the time nor the place for such futile gestures. Until the battle ended, I knew Arthur needed the armor of blistering fury that he had wrapped himself in, and so I remained silent. Even Regis' thoughts were quiet as he guarded over Aladari Vritra below the mountain. I sensed Arthur's intention before he acted. His weight left my body and he appeared midair 30 feet in front of a wraith. Ether condensed in his fist, forming a weapon. Several more appeared around him, folding into being. Each one a physical representation of the apologetic rage. No, that's not apologetic. The apoplectic rage. Boiling barely contained below the surface of his composure. The floating swords all slashed out simultaneously. That shit is crazy, man. All at the same time, sweeping through the air to slightly different points. At the same time, his primary ether sword, the one in his hand, thrust forward. The wraith predictably dodging the handful of flying swords, putting him in place just as another thrust through the etheric pathways and into his line of retreat. Even for a wraith, there was no time to react as the blade thrust down through his shoulder, heart, and core. Oh, damn. So the blade thrust down through his shoulder, heart, and core before blinking away a half second later. That's crazy, man. So he could just and then just blink, and then now moving on to the next one. Like, I don't even give a fuck. Gravity had barely started to pull Arthur earthward before he was on my back again. His cold fury unabated. So is that what he's doing? Is that how he's able to kind of makeshift fly? Like he can just God step in the air? Because I know he said that he could do that. God step in the air and then land back on Sylvie and then God step again. And so like Sylvie is like his base foothold. This feels like it's a long chapter. Shit. His cold fury unabated by the calculated death. Arthur's arrival on the battlefield finally broke the remaining wraith's will to keep fighting, and all 6 of them split off and attempted to retreat in different directions. Get those 3, Sharon thundered, banking sharply left and giving chase. Winsome, stay with the portal. Stay with the patrol. I hesitated, knowing we were doing exactly what the enemy wanted of us. Winsome also clearly wanted to argue, but Sharon was already speeding away. So wait, what does he mean? So exactly what the enemy wanted? What, they wanted them to separate? Is that what she means? I think that's what she might mean when she said that, doing exactly what the enemy expected. All right, so get those 3. Winsome, stay with the patrol. I hesitated, knowing we were doing exactly what the enemy wanted of us. Winsome also clearly wanted to argue, but Sharon was already speeding away, and Arthur's focus was entirely on our targets. I let his fury guide me and wheeled about, dipping my head and wings and flying at top speed. One was heading south, the other 2 southeast over the mountains. I felt their mana signatures melting away as they focused all their energy on shrouding themselves from me. I'm ready, I thought, holding the spell I've been slowly weaving since our arrival. Oh shit, so this must be some crazy ass time spell. Because if she's been forming a spell on their way there and now she's about to release this shit, oh, it's gonna be crazy. I'm ready, I thought, holding the spell I've been slowly weaving since our arrival. Now, Arthur ordered, and I pressed outward with the tentative new ether art I have been trying to learn. The air rippled in a nova around me as my magic spilled through the atmosphere. I sensed as everything except Arthur and I began to slow. Oh, is she just slowing down time like fucking Kezis? Everything began to slow. Wait. Yeah, everything began to slow. In moments, the speeding wraiths had oozed to a crawl, looking like 3 flies trapped in clear amber. Arthur and I dropped suddenly, and I took a deep breath as I remembered to beat my wings. The spell took all my focus, so much that even the beating of my wings seemed difficult. Arthur didn't teleport away again. Instead, he stood and conjured his weapon. Man, this is some crazy ass tag team type shit right now, yo. So she's stopping time, Arthur's not affected, and he can just stab his sword into the pathways and just hit their ass and just be like, ugh, they all just dead at the same time, man. That's crazy. That's crazy. I didn't even think about tag team spells. Well, not spells, but abilities, I guess. Instead, he stood and conjured his weapon. I felt myself shiver at the intensity of his focus. He carefully adjusted his stance, his form, the angle of his blade. I knew I could only hold the spell a few seconds total. Already the ether was fighting me. time unwilling to be bound in this way. But I didn't hurry him, didn't break his concentration. It would be enough. So complete was his focus that I couldn't help but be drawn into it with him. Arthur channeled into the God room, burning on his back, and the atmospheric pathways lit up in our vision. Oh, so she can see him too? From their bond? She can see the pathways? Because you said our vision. Painting the sky with jagged amethyst lightning bolts, beyond the barriers of mana cladding their skin. Past the clouds of poisonous mana vapor and burning soul fire auras, into the points between armor and skin. That's where Arthur focused. His concentration clicked into place, and the blade slashed from left to right. I felt it slipping into the atmospheric pathways, first one, then a second, and a third, all within the space of the blade's near instant movement. Deadly chaotic as a maelstrom, and the sluggish oozing wraith flashed with violet light. My spell released, and I wobbled back and forth, struggling to keep us in the air. 3 streaks of bright blood sprayed across the horizon ahead of us. That is wild, man. That is wild. She stops time and he just stab, pow, pow, pow. Man, that's crazy. Okay, so now we can see some of the potential that he can do with this fucking, what would he call it? Just like, I don't know. I mean, you would think Regis would have came up with a name for it. Like, I don't know, fucking the vanishing blade or some shit. Like, I don't fucking know. Like, that's some crazy ass shit. Wow. So she stops time and then he's able to stab all of them and get rid of them. Wow. That's crazy. That's wild, man. That's crazy. So he said, get those 3. And then it just took a few seconds and then boom, they were done. They were done. That's wild. And so she can hold the spell. That's also interesting too. So she can hold the spell and like save it for later. Kind of like how other people do, like before she releases it, and then just stop time for a few seconds. That's man, that's wild. So she just needs more training. Once she gets some more training done, man, she'll be able to wipe motherfuckers out, yo. Time, man, that's crazy. Anyways, this is a dope chapter. Can't say it was. This is dope. He showed up and they were just like, oh shit, we gotta get the fuck out of here. And they all tried to get away. And he was like, nah, we already prepared for this. You ain't getting away. So 3 of them are gonna be down now. So that means that they're what? They said it was 7. So now we're at like 5? Oh no, not 5. It wouldn't be 5. It'd be 4. We're at 4. I think Parada's gonna get away. So she gets away. So that's of course to be expected. But yeah, this was dope. This is dope. But if y'all could do me a favor and like this video before y'all head up out of here, that would be great. But what did y'all think about the chapter, man? I gotta say this chapter was dope. You guys gotta let me know what you thought about the chapter, because this shit, man, I'm just thinking about the potential of his abilities. That's all I'm thinking about. Like, what other shit can he do with just with his sword, being able to, you know, make multiple swords from a distance? It reminds me of that one series where the fuck, I forget what it was called. Something Unlimited Blade Works. I don't remember the name, but it was something Unlimited Blade Works or whatever, where the fucking golden dude, he can like make an infinite amount of swords and shit, and like that was his like ultimate like shield and ultimate like attack too. Like, it was crazy, and that's all I can think of. It's just like a fucking thousands of swords, and just like you can't escape them. Like, and then fucking being able to like use them and then have them go into dimensions and shit. Man, that's crazy. But if he can jab his sword into the dimension, that means that he should also be able to like just be able to like put his hand into a dimension, and like for example, he might be able to just stick his hand into one of the pathways and have it come out and then just blast some ether in somebody's face. Like, he can do some crazy ass shit. What if he can send people into the pathways from a distance, right? So like he can just like teleport people from a distance, like open up a pathway, have them step into it so they can get to safety or some shit. Like, man, or instead of doing that, he can just have the pathways connect to like a crowd of people, like 20 people or whatever, and then be able to God step all of them at the same time to safety. Like, it's so much shit he could probably do. So much shit. But, I mean, it's basically his imagination at this point. It was insane. Fate Stay Night. That's what it's called. Exactly. Thank you. Fate Stay Night. That's exactly what I'm thinking about. I remember I had watched that years ago. That shit was awesome too. That shit was, man, the studio, what was it? Studio Bones? Ufotable? One of the studios. One of the crazy good studios, man. The animation was just excellent. Excellent. But why are you cursing? God is on you. Oh, Lord. Listen. I curse too much, okay? It's true. It's true. I'm not gonna be mad about the comment because I do curse too much. I need to rein in it. But yeah, Fate Stay Night. Fate Stay Night is what I was talking about. So that's dope, man. That's dope. This is a dope chapter, man. I see. It's kind of got me hype again. It's kind of got me hype again. I've been reading other stuff, and so I haven't been super excited about T-Bait, but it's kind of got me excited again. But what I wanted to say was, so yeah, I've been reading other shit. Okay, here I go again. I've been reading other stuff. Ufotable, yeah, I knew. Oh, Ufotable, yeah. What did I say? I said Studio Bones, or yeah, it was Ufotable. Yeah. I say, Lebo, you know, you helping me out. But yeah, so I've been reading other stuff, and so that's why I haven't really been like super on top. I don't know, man. I want to make some videos about some of the other stuff I've been reading, because I've been kind of branching out of genres just a little bit. Like right now, I read this story, and you can tell me if y'all heard about it or not, but it's called what is it called? Something about thorns and roses. A court of thorns and roses. I read that. So I'm kind of branching off into like a little bit of romance type stuff a little bit. And honestly, it's kind of just okay, you know. But they said the second book was better, so I'm kind of hoping the second book is a little bit better. But there's that, and then there's also I read because I'm a fan of Brandon Sanderson's all his stuff. I was about to say shit again, but I'm a fan of Brandon Sanderson and all his stuff. So I read Alcatraz versus the Evil Librarians. So I read all 6 of those books. Red Rising. Lebo, you must have heard me talk about Red Rising. Red Rising is dope as hell, man. I read the 6th book, and now I'm waiting. I just gotta wait at this point because I think it's the 6th, right? Lightbringer? I think that's the 6th. Let me see, you got 1, 2, 3, the Morning Star, whatever. I think that's 3. And then you got 4, 5. It's either 5 or 6 I read. But yeah, but Red Rising is Red. I've fallen in love with Red Rising. Red Rising is the shit. But so I read that. I read the Alcatraz versus the Librarians. I read all 6 of those. That was good. That was a really good, solid story. I read Elantris. That was by Brandon Sanderson. Elantris or whatever. That was okay. I thought that was okay. I read White Sand by Brandon Sanderson. I didn't really like White Sand. I thought White Sand was very mediocre. What else? What else have I read? I did Red Rising. Red Rising was what I most recently did. I sped through Red Rising. I did like all 6 books in like 2-3 weeks. Like, it was crazy. I just dove in and I couldn't stop. And then if you listen to the graphic audio version, man, just dope. It's dope. But yeah, so there's that. Elantris, White Sand, Alcatraz versus Librarians. So I'm gonna read some other stuff. I started this whole the Court of Thorns and Roses, the little romance stuff. I started to read. Have y'all heard of that story? Because that was like popular. That was the reason why I kind of got into it. But my problem with that story was that they focused way too much on the romance stuff. Like, I was intrigued more with like the world, with the whole fairies, and you know how they have the different high fairies that like, you know, govern their territory, the 7 territories or whatever. I was more interested in that, but they focus so much on the stupid romance, and then the characters is just very bland, and I'm just like, I don't know. Like I like the romance in the stories. You know, like that's like Red Rising, for example. Like I love the relationship of Virginia and Darrow. I love the relationship, but it's very subtle though. It's not like, you know, she's smart. It's not dependent on the relationship. It's like, oh, I trust you and I love you because, you know, all the things that we've been through together, whatever. The Court of Thorns and Roses is just like, I love you because, you know, your broad shoulders and, you know, your tight chest and your claws. I'm afraid, but then I'm starting not to be afraid, and, you know, your powerful jaw. And I'm just like, man, get the fuck out of here with all this bullshit. Like, you know, just experience some stuff. Go through some things. It's just like, I hate it when they do, I'm kind of ranting at this point, but I hate it when they do this stuff where they just like, where like in the story, people get into a relationship, but you're just like, I don't know why they love each other. And that's kind of how I felt about the story. It was just like, I understand why she loves him. What the fuck is his name? Telemantis or Telemus, whatever his name is. I understand why she loves him, but I don't understand why he loves her. Like it's just like the same thing with Twilight. It's the same thing with what, the 50 Shades of Grey. I didn't read any of that stuff, by the way. It was just the stuff that I heard of. It's just like they're all bland, and you're just like, I don't know why you even like this person. They're bland, they're boring, they don't know anything. There's nothing that's special about them. They're not like, you know, like crazy beautiful, or like there's nothing about them that's like, oh yeah, I see why you love this person. There's nothing. But Virginia and Darrow, oh yeah, I see why she loves Darrow. I see why Darrow loves her. Everything they've been through together, and you know how smart she is and how smart Darrow is, and you know all these different things. You know, like the whole cave, the part where they was all in, when it was in the cave, and you know how he was singing the song to her, and she was sick, like all that good shit. But they don't have any of that in the court of fucking Thorns and Roses and stuff, you know. So I don't know if y'all even know what I'm talking about, but I just kind of got a rant about it a little bit, just because I want to branch off into other stuff. Like I like the sci-fi, I like the fantasy, I like the romance. I just don't want the romance to be like 75% of the story. I want the romance to be like 25% of the story, maybe 20%, you know. But like, I don't know. But like even with T-Bait, like T-Bait, I like the romance. The romance is not a big part of the story. It's like, oh yeah, you know, you got Arthur and you got Tessia, the little romance there. I kind of wish it was like a little bit more romance, to be honest with you. Like, you know, seeing how other people like each other. Although they did like little spurts of like the one kid, like during the whole fight that Arthur was when he first became a Lance, and the one girl, she died in front of him, and you know, he was upset because Arthur was grabbing him and taking him back, and you know, he loved her but never told her. And then you got like Tessia's group, you know, you got the one girl that was in his group, and then the one boy that Arthur had messed up with the whole you know, the what is it, the chakra points or whatever the fuck. That's just never got brought up again. But like his mana points or whatever, when he couldn't use mana anymore after he got done, like how she secretly loved him. Like I like that little bit of stuff, but like it's just going on walks and talking about anyway. Let me see what you're saying, Lebo, because you're the one that's talking to us. Red Rising is dope. What do you mean AM on gold? I don't know what that means. AM on gold. Is that a story? A Court of Thorns and Roses. I'll check it out. You can, okay, all right, Lebo, listen. You can check it out, but you might be disappointed, man. You might be disappointed. It's not long. I can tell you that. It's not long. It's about 12 hours. So if you listen to it, it's about 12 hours, which is not long at all. Because if you listen to Red Rising gets to like 20 hours, like pretty much per book, and then they start to get to like 26 hours. So it's not very long. But you're not gonna like. I don't think you're gonna like it, man. I don't think you're gonna like it because I don't think you're gonna like it just because of the romance stuff. Like I like the ending. I like the ending of the story, but like it's slow in the beginning. I like the beginning, actually. I like how the beginning started, but like once you get like 20% of the way in, like what would you call it? Like I don't know. I've been out of school in a minute, what is it, like you got the climax, you got the exposition, you got the resolution, whatever that middle part is. Once you get towards there, you're just like, ugh, I don't care about this stuff at all. But the ending is cool, and I like the beginning, how the beginning sets everything up. But yeah. But you said check out Reborn Apocalypse. I gotta write this down. See, I'm gonna add it to the notes because I got notes on what to check out. Because I've been speed through in so many series that I gotta check out some other stuff too. So I'm gonna check that out. I have no idea what that's about. I might look it up. I'm gonna look it up right now, actually. But listen. The Court of Thorns and Roses and stuff is popular, from what I understand. A lot of people say it's overhyped. I think it's overhyped. A lot of women are mainly the ones that's reading it. You know, kind of like Twilight and stuff. But I'm just hoping the second book is a whole lot better. A lot of people said that the second book blows out the first book, and it makes the first book make a lot more sense. So that's kind of what I'm hoping. I'm like, what am I, like 2.5 hours into the second book? And the very beginning of the second book I did not like, but we'll see. We'll see. But let me add that to the list really quick, because I got a list of stuff to check out. Okay, Lord of the Mystery, Infinite Mage, and then you're saying Reborn Apocalypse. Okay. Let me search that right now to see what it's about. But yeah, I don't know what y'all be reading, but a lot of stuff I done read, it mostly stay on to like the fantasy part of it. Even though the sci-fi is really cool, I like the sci-fi stuff too. Let's see, Reborn. Oh, they got a volume 4, so they got a lot of them. It's a 3-book series. Okay, let me see. So it's a light RPG. Okay. See the RPG stuff? It can be cool, but I just hope they don't have the same tropes. It just has to be okay. Let's see. If you could turn back the clock and fix all the mistakes you ever made, would you? Yeah. If I was like really dumb and made a lot of mistakes, yeah, for sure. For Michael Kerr, a swordsman that could only be considered a middling warrior in humanity's last army, the answer to that question would be quite simple. Yes, 1,000,000 times yes. Humanity has fallen, wiped out after being warped away to a new reality, the mystical 7 layers. Humanity has fallen, wiped out, being warped away. So humanity fell, and then they got sent to a new reality? Humanity's goal has been simple. Make it through all 7 layers and reach heaven? Okay, I wasn't expecting that. I thought it was like a world, but it seems like it's like some sort of trial. So make it through all the 7 layers and reach heaven. So heaven is like going to be the end goal to where, you're saved. Humanity failed. Humanity died. Michael Kerr's memories have been transported back into his past self thanks to a magic artifact he found by chance. Of course it was by chance. Okay, so it's basically goes to the sense of just like, if you could go back in time and do things all over, would you, knowing what you know now? And so basically he knows what he knows now, and he's going. That's kind of cool. But I mean, but that can kind of get into like, okay, I know everything, and so now life is just on easy mode at this point. But I'm pretty sure it wouldn't be that easy though. He is no chosen savior. It's always like that. He's not the chosen one. Although they got stories about the chosen one, but not being chosen makes it more like hard earned, and it doesn't feel like it was just given to you. He's no divinely picked hero. Can he change the future? Can he catch up to the mightiest warriors of humanity? The mightiest warriors of humanity and surpass them. Read on and find out. Okay. I might check this out. Maybe I'll check it out and do a video on it. Just try to, just read it. I'll probably just get into it a little bit and kind of see how I like it in the beginning, because they got 3 books, it looks like. Okay. Okay, cool. I'm gonna check that out. Sounds like something I could like. Although, you know, I don't know. It's just like some tropes with the whole RPG stuff that I don't really like. But I don't know. I don't know if it's more like, is it more character driven, or is it more like battle driven, right? Are you really into it because of the action and the cool abilities and things like that? Maybe the power system, the world building, or is it more like the characters and like the trials and tribulations, and you know, you start to care about the characters a lot? Because I mean, no story, like, it doesn't matter how well crafted the world is or any of that shit. If you don't care about the characters, then it's all for nothing. Because if they just die and you're just like, oh well, then it's just like you have nothing to like gravitate towards to like to get you keep going. Like, oh yeah, I want to see what happens next to him, or I want to see what he does, or if he's going to make it, or maybe he might be hurt, or maybe she might die, or maybe he might die, you know. But if you don't care, like, oh, they can all just die, I don't give a fuck. It's just like, oh, well. And that's kind of how it feels with the whole Court of Thorns and shit. It's just like, I don't really care. Like, the main character, the main female character, Feyre, I think is her name. She's kind of annoying. And that's really bad when your main character is like a little. She's annoying in the sense of just like, she's dumb, but she knows she's dumb because she does. I don't know. We just need to. I just wish that we didn't get her internal thoughts all the time, and we got switched to other characters and got their thoughts, and maybe got some character. You know, some more character background of other characters and stuff, and not just everything through her. You know, that's another thing about the Red Rising. Because listen, I'll say this to you, Lebo, because you read Red Rising. One of the problems I had with Red Rising was what was the third book? Let me look and see what was the third book. I think it was the Morning Star, right? I'm not going to spoil anything just in case people didn't read Red Rising, but I did kind of spoil something with Virginia and Daryl. But it doesn't. It is okay. Let me figure out what book it was. Okay, so you got the Golden Sun, that's the second one. You got the Morning Star, that was the third one. You got Iron Gold. Is Iron Gold the 1, 2, 3? I think Morning Star is the fourth one. I think Iron Gold is the third one. And then you got Dark Age, and then you got Lightbringer. Okay. So the Morning Star, I think that's what it was. I think it was the Morning Star. Or was it Iron Gold? It might have been Iron Gold. It might be Iron Gold. What was I gonna say? Anyway, so what I'm trying to say is, I didn't like the fact that we kept on getting Darrow's perspective throughout the entire story. I wanted us to get other people's perspective. I wanted them to get like a Virginia perspective. I wanted them to get, you know, some other people's perspectives, because it was like everything was going through Darrow, and I'm just like, oh my God. But then we finally did, though. We finally got Darrow's perspective, or we finally got Virginia's perspective, and then we got what was her name, Seraphim, or whatever her name is, and then you got Lysander, and then you got Ephraim. And I didn't really care for Ephraim too much, but I understood like his like purpose for like setting things up with the other characters, whatever. So I did not like, what was it, the Morning Star, after the whole torture scene and you know, him getting rescued and him being super thin and they have to like rebuild or whatever. I didn't like any of that whole story. I didn't like the fact, I didn't like how they did the time skip. I didn't like how, I don't want to spoil everything. I don't like the stuff with Pax, and like so much stuff was just skipped, and I'm just like, wait, where are we? And then the whole society, and just like, or what was it called? Not the society, but the whatever the hell it's called. It don't matter. I didn't like any of that stuff. I have to do like a spoiler video talking about this book because I had a lot of thoughts about it. I meant the arm on the Golden Sun. What is that? The AM on the Golden Sun? Is that like another story? Maybe that's another story. But what was I gonna say? I forget. But anyway, man, I just got rants about other stories and stuff that I read or whatever. I just didn't like. I think it was the Morning Sun. Or not the Morning Star. I didn't like the Morning Star. The Morning Star was not. Or was it Iron Gold? It was either Iron Gold or the Morning. You know, I'm not about to look. It was one of the two. But yeah, so there's that, and then you also got Brandon Sanderson's The Stormlight Archives. Y'all can check that out. That story is great. Honestly, it was slow for me to get into it, but once you get into it, you really get into it, and it's just like so much shit is happening, and you get like 4 different perspectives, and yeah, that was a really good story too. So, but anyway, I'm just talking about a bunch of different stuff. But yeah, so I might make a video or something. I still gotta come up with that list of characters and stuff, as far as like the power levels and things. I still gotta work on that. But yeah, that's it, man. I appreciate y'all joining in. I'm about to get up out of here. It's late. I gotta go to sleep. Got more work to do in the morning. And I'll check you guys out in the next video, man. Peace.